Most people plant their gardens like factories, in neat single rows of annual vegetables that live for one season and then die. It's a system that demands constant work for a temporary reward. This fundamental mistake costs them 20 years of free food. They spend all spring buying seeds, all summer weeding, and all autumn clearing dead plants, trapped in a cycle of labor that never builds a permanent asset because they are thinking in terms of a season, not a generation. This isn't gardening, it's calendar engineering. It requires a shift from the temporary mindset of an annual vegetable bed to the permanent, multi-generational thinking of a food forest. Today I'm going to show you how to build a 3-layer, 7-tree food forest in your back garden this February. Once established, this system will feed you for 20 years with only a fraction of the work of a traditional garden. This isn't a theoretical lecture on permaculture. It's a practical, step-by-step system based on the timeless wisdom of John Sayer, designed for a standard suburban garden. And it begins not in the warm days of spring, but in the cold, dormant heart of winter. This is the moment when most people freeze, not from the cold, but from uncertainty, staring at a patch of frozen lawn, wondering if they're about to ruin their garden. I know that feeling. The first time I planted a bare root tree, a stick with a few sad-looking roots, into the cold February soil, the voice in my head, trained by decades of wait until spring gardening advice, was screaming at me to stop. But I didn't. And that decision is still feeding me today. Every year you wait, every season you hesitate, is a year of production you will never get back. A tree planted this February will be fruiting in its 3rd year. A tree planted next February? That's a lost year of harvest, a year of continued dependence on the supermarket, and a year in which your food forest falls further behind. This is not a decision you can postpone. It's a window of opportunity that closes with the end of winter. This system is built on one simple, powerful principle: vertical stacking. Instead of planting in 2 dimensions, we plant in 3, creating layers of production that occupy the same ground space but different vertical spaces, just like a natural forest. It consists of 3 layers populated by 7 specific trees planted in a successional sequence. 1. The canopy layer. The giants of the system, the long-term producers that form the upper story. We use 3 trees, apple, pear, and plum, all on semi-dwarf rootstocks to keep them manageable. 2. The understory layer. Medium-height producers that fill the space beneath the canopy. Here we use 2 trees, a dwarf cherry and a hazel, for nuts and structural diversity. 3. The ground layer. Fast-growing early producers that occupy the lower levels. We use 2 berry shrubs, currants and gooseberries, which give you a harvest while the upper layers are still growing. This 3-layer, 7-tree system is the core of your food forest, a living machine that turns sunlight into food for decades. But this is where most people fail. They hear food forest and plant everything at once, a chaotic mix of trees and shrubs with no understanding of sequence, timing, or structure. That's not a food forest, it's a jungle, and it will collapse under its own weight within 5 years. The second mistake is choosing the wrong rootstocks, planting a standard apple tree that wants to reach 12 meters next to a plum that wants to reach 6, creating a battle for light that one will inevitably lose. The third and most critical mistake is planting at the wrong time, waiting for the warmth of spring to plant potted nursery trees instead of planting dormant bare root trees in the cold of February. This system has 3 non-negotiable laws. Law 1, timing. You must plant bare root trees during the dormant season, February for most temperate climates. This allows the roots to establish in the cold, moist soil before the tree wakes up. Law 2, spacing. You are designing for vertical layers, not horizontal competition. Canopy trees are planted 5 meters apart, forming the main structure. Understory and ground layer plants are positioned strategically within that structure to capture sunlight at different levels. Law 3, rootstock. You must use semi-dwarf rootstocks for your canopy trees. This keeps the upper layer at a manageable 5 to 6 meters, allowing sunlight to reach the layers below. A standard rootstock will create a dense canopy that shades everything beneath it, killing the lower layers and collapsing the system. Phase 1, establishing the canopy layer. In the first week of February, mark the locations for your 3 canopy trees, apple, pear, and plum, spaced 5 meters apart in a triangle. Dig 3 holes, each twice as wide as you think the root ball will be. Keep the topsoil in one pile and the subsoil in another. At the bottom of each hole, add a layer of stones for drainage and a spadeful of compost, not to feed the tree now, but to feed the soil life that will feed the tree later. In the 2nd and 3rd weeks of February, your semi-dwarf bare root trees will arrive. They will look like dead sticks. This is the moment of doubt. Trust the system. Soak the roots in water for a few hours. Build a small mound of topsoil in the center of each hole and spread the roots over it, ensuring the graft union, the knobbly part at the base of the trunk, sits about 10 centimeters above the final soil level. Backfill the hole, firming the soil gently, and leave a shallow basin to hold water. Water deeply, 20 liters, not a sprinkle. Mulch heavily with 20 centimeters of straw or wood chips, keeping the mulch away from the trunk. For the rest of the first year, you do almost nothing. Water once a week if it doesn't rain. Watch and wait. You are not growing trees, you are growing a root system. Phase 2, the understory layer. In February of the 2nd year, plant your dwarf cherry and hazel between the now established canopy trees, about 2.5 to 3 meters from their trunks. The process is the same: dig, compost, plant, water, mulch. In the summer of the 2nd year, you'll harvest your first handful of currants and gooseberries from the ground layer you'll plant next. In the 3rd year, you'll get your first small harvest from the dwarf cherry. This is the genius of the layered system. Production begins in stages, filling your basket while the larger system matures. Phase 3, the ground layer. In February of the 3rd year, plant your currants and gooseberries. These hardy shrubs thrive in partial shade. Plant them 1.5 to 2 meters apart, creating a living mulch that suppresses weeds, retains moisture, and, most importantly, produces fruit. By the summer of the 3rd year, your ground layer will be in full production. By the 5th year, your canopy trees will give their first significant harvests. You have now built a fully functional 3-layer food forest. Climate zones. Most people think a food forest is a tropical luxury, something that only works in California or Florida. Wrong. This system is designed for temperate climates, specifically USDA zones 5 to 8. The principles are universal, the tactics change. Zone 5. Choose a hardier apple like Honeycrisp and plant in late February. Zone 8. Add a fig to your understory and plant in early February. Your climate doesn't determine whether you can do this, only how you do it. The real return on investment. This isn't a hobby, it's infrastructure for your family's future. A 200-pound investment in 7 bare root trees becomes a food-producing asset yielding 800 to 1,000 pounds in fresh, organic fruit and nuts every year for the next 2 decades. But the real return isn't measured in money. It's measured in food security, in the jars of jam, the frozen berries, the stored apples, the months of fresh fruit from your own garden. It's the taste of a sun-warmed apple from a tree you planted as a stick. It's the quiet confidence of knowing that no matter what happens at the supermarket, you have a resilient, productive system in your own back garden. A legacy, not a project. If you're ready to stop renting your food security from the supermarket, if you're ready to make a 20-year investment in your family's future, then plant these 7 trees this February. And come back in 3 years, not to thank me, but to tell others what you're harvesting from your own food forest. Plant your future today. More wisdom is coming soon.